All right, so I feel like we've all been there before. Scrolling through the pages of your favorite motorcycle magazine thinking, man, these pictures are beauty. I think I could do the same thing. I could take pictures like this, just to go out and try and fail miserably. All right, so maybe not miserably, but to the point where you feel like you just didn't do the bike justice. You just didn't do the scene justice. Well, that's okay because I've got your back. One of my favorite things to do other than make YouTube videos is take photos of my bike. Other than being your resident YouTube motovlogger, over the past decade and a half, I've had a career in commercial photography. So today I'm gonna give you as many tips and tricks as I can to help you photograph your motorbike better. Let's get into it. Warning, no malaria was contracted and not enough mosquitoes were harmed during the filming of this video. All right, so we're at the spot that I want to be at to take photos of the bike. I'm going to keep my gloves on because the mosquitoes are absolutely ridiculous. I just moved the bike into place, what I would consider a really good composition, what we would consider leading lines. I'm going to use the big mirrorless camera, obviously, for this to take some shots. Right now I have a 16mm f1.4 lens on here, which if you're not a camera person, basically means it's a wider angle lens with the ability to capture images at lower light and really blur out the background. Look at these mosquitoes, it's crazy. I'm gonna switch this lens over to almost like what we would consider a portrait lens. That's what I take most shots like this, whether it's a motorbike, any product really, cars, bicycles, anything. I really like to push in a little bit with that portrait lens. Same lens that like wedding photographers would use. So let's change that out and then we'll get to taking some photos. All right. So now that we have the lens that we want on, let's take a look at the bike. I'll just show you guys kind of what we're working with here. There's the bike kind of way down there. Looks far away, but the way I'm going to shoot this is I'm going to shoot this with this kind of more telephoto style lens to give us that pushed in look. And something else that's really cool here is that I have this foliage here that I'm going to try to put in the foreground just to make the images look a little bit more interesting. We'll move around, the light's really good, so I'm just going to set the tripod up and you'll be able to kind of see what I'm doing. So this is actually a 56mm 1.2 lens from Fujifilm, and I will shoot this what they call wide open to give me that really blurred out background. So let's get into it. Oh, that looks pretty good already. I want to get a little bit closer just so I can fill the frame a little bit. All right, let's try that. It's a little bit closer, a little bit of a low angle. I always really like to get low. I always like to say, you know, want to take pictures like your grandma would, you know, on the iPad, or, you know, if you're a grandma, I'm sorry, but, you know, I'm just an example that I use when I'm teaching photo classes. You want to be able to get low, give the viewer a different perspective than you would, you know, just, you know, shoulder level, waist level, eye level. Try that. All right, looks pretty good. All right, these pictures are looking rad. All right, so we'll try to get kind of this foliagey look, kind of give you this kind of blurry green foreground. You'll kind of see what that looks like. So that looks kind of rad. One thing that I do if I can't, you know, put myself in a position where there is this foliage, like let's say I want to be a little closer to the subject, but nothing to put in front of the camera to give you that kind of depth look, I'll just pick a small piece of grass. Let me do that for you. So I'll kind of just like pick some of this clover here, and I'll just kind of like spread it out and put it in front of the lens, and it'll give you the illusion that there's some green foliage, or like I'm inside some of that foliagey look. Let's see what that does for us. Well, that's kind of rad. So the next thing I'm going to do is, I feel like I've got some landscape oriented images. I'm going to make sure I get a few portrait. Being somebody who's worked with publications, now that's not to say that's something that you're going to do. You know, working with somebody, it might not be your goal. You just have to take pictures of your motorbike. Having the ability to maybe post your landscape oriented image and, you know, use it as a wallpaper on your computer, and then maybe post something on Instagram in portrait mode is just nice. It's nice to have both. So I always try to get both compositions, both styles of images in both portrait and landscape orientation. So let's get those portraits now. So the thing about portrait orientation is you're definitely gonna have to back up because it really squeezes the frame. So just gonna back up a little bit here. Just a different look to the image altogether. Kind of got it going on right here. Like it. Mosquito right in my ear hole again. So I've got a little bit of room. I'll move ahead. All right, that's better. We're tightening things up. Really love this portrait lens. This would be considered an 85mm focal length on this camera. Again, more nerdy camera stuff we don't really need to talk about. I feel like I got those shots, happy with them. The next thing I'm gonna do is get some detailed shots, so I'll get a little bit closer with the camera, kind of get some of maybe the decals, some of the cooler features of the bike. Yeah, again, in both landscape and portrait orientation. And then I'll most likely move the bike and kind of face it forward. And then I might, if the mosquitoes don't absolutely thrash me, put on another lens and try to get some detailed, more up close shots. Let's give it a try. So a little closer, maybe we'll move up, a little closer. And we'll try to get that CRF logo without getting malaria here. You're starting to get the sunset, as you'll see in these images. You'll get that evening glow, and that's another tip that I always love to tell people is I always put the sun at the back of my subject when I'm shooting these types of shots. So basically what that allows me to do is it allows me to kind of blow out that background just that much more, and it creates this really beautiful looking glow behind your subject. And again, whether you're shooting a motorcycle or a bride, you know, either way, it makes for a really, really cool photo. So let's get some more of those. Starting to really get that glow. Mosquitoes are gnarls. Get that Garda skid plate in there for them. I'm gonna move to the right a little bit here. Just kind of get the front end of the bike here. Back up just a little bit. We're getting some portrait mode shots here. Looks pretty rad. Front tire stuff. Kind of up close and personal here with the bike. Maybe a little too close. That's rad. The mirrors are a little bit of a distraction. So, and you'll see that in some of the images here I'll show you. So I'm gonna throw the mirrors down just to kind of clean things up a little bit, help with the composition. Wow, these mosquitoes are crazy. All right, so look at that. Look at them on the bike. That's the craziest part. What I'm gonna have to do after is I'm gonna have to Photoshop all these mosquitoes. There's literally probably hundreds. I mean, there are literally hundreds of mosquitoes. You gotta check this out. Look at those guys. Insanity, absolute insanity. They're all around us. All right, so a couple more with the mirrors down, and then we'll try to kind of move into some tighter shots. Maybe get some details of the Garda decals. I'll get some of the Garda skid plate. I'll get some of the Moscow Nat handlebar bag. I like to get these product shots. I always find that sometimes they'll come in handy if you are making videos and if you are trying to do this kind of more professionally. Some company might come knocking at some point. If you have a couple images of their product, you know, it doesn't hurt. So let's try to get some images of a little bit more of the bike, a little bit more of the pushed in lens, the 56mm, and then we'll switch over to the wider angle, get some details, and then we'll get the hell out of here because mosquitoes are killing me. We're just starting to lose light, I'd say. I mean, maybe not. We got some pretty cool glow here still. Actually, before I change lenses, I'm gonna move the bike so it's facing kind of at a different angle. We'll try to get some different angles of the bike from that straight on perspective. I have to roll it back that way. Okay, we'll see how that looks. I mean, just because you do something doesn't mean it's gonna be like perfect every time. And I mean, don't feel afraid to abandon an idea if it's shitty and it's not working out. Because yeah, I mean, to me, this doesn't look that awesome. I mean, honestly, I don't really like the front end of the rallies. They kind of look goofy. Got those goofy minion eyes. So we'll try maybe like a little bit more of a drastic angle. Keep that kickstand down. Yeah, we'll see how that looks. Get the camera. All right, let's try that. It's not my favorite. We got a couple. More is better than less. That's kind of rad. Mosquitoes are still just insane around this thing right now, which is absolutely hard to believe. That's kind of neat. Mosquitoes are still crazy though, dude. Hard to believe. Hard to believe there's that many mosquitoes out. I mean, I guess it's not hard to believe. Drag the ass end of the bike out a little bit. Just to make it right, you know, we're here. We might as well put in the effort to make the shot look good. Here, let's try that. All right, let's try some wider angle stuff and then we'll go home. All right, so wider angle, just completely different shots altogether. So see what we can get here. Not like super hung up on these shots. Show all my beat up decals on my bike that everybody was bugging me about. Man, the mosquitoes are just nuts. I just have no idea how I'm gonna Photoshop these mosquitoes out of here. You almost gotta like swipe them away for these detailed shots and then get the shot you're looking for and then hit it. I like it, I like it. All right, so some detailed shots, pretty rad. Let's look at that really cool glow, which I love. Light's actually popping right now, so I'm really in no hurry to go, other than these buggers. Yeah, fun. Big part of what I do, and a big part of what I still do, even with the YouTube stuff, is photos. Cool. I feel like that's good. You could hang out all night and take a million photos for sure, but at some point you gotta call it quits. So let's pack up and let's get going home and put these on the computer, and let's make a YouTube video.